All righty. So I can't remember, is that clock right now?
It's a little slow. I have 7 on my laptop.
Okay. All right. So it's 7 o'clock. Let's begin the meeting of February 7th, 2023 for the Town of McCandless Planning Commission. The first item on the agenda is the Williams Huffnagel subdivision application. We've seen some of this before, but we need a motion to accept the application for review. Can I have a motion? I move. Sean, motion, second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion is accepted.
Sean and Jonathan, right?
Yes. So I think we're ready for the presentation. My name is Brian Kelly. I'm on a land surveyor. With the Williams on trying to get moving forward with their property. I went through the latest review letter that we received from the township engineer. And all the comments related to the subdivision and to get the property settled, the lot lines and those items have all been addressed. Some of the comments they had were regarding what I believe and I assume is for the site development portion, to build a house on it, to put a driveway, anything of that nature. We're not really addressing any of that with this. It's basically to get the property lines straightened out. In the next week or so, I'm going to be submitting site development plans for their site grading and where their new potential home to be located. And plans for the driveway turnaround that would like to submit. So I would ask, I would like, if it's any way, reviewing the plans. I know we can't get, you guys don't approve, you basically recommend to the town that they approve the plans, but we would like, if nothing else, maybe a conditional approval because we do not have the plans signed. Mrs. Huffnagel was out of the country. And while we were finishing everything up with this. So I need to run around and get everybody's signatures on the plan and everything prior to the town council meeting. But if you have any questions for me regarding the plan, that's why I'm here to address any of those questions and see if we can't move forward.
I just want to jump in with a quick administrative note. Just,
Yes.
it's very common that people don't actually give us the recording plan until after the town council approval to make sure that there are no,
Okay,
like cleanup items that were approved conditionally or something. So you don't need to walk in with everything signed
okay.
unless you're 100% sure that there are. No
Yeah, I don't know if
changes.
anyone's ever 100% sure.
Yeah, right. I mean, so, it's fine if you want to wait until like the day after approval to print it or something. That's very common.
Okay,
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
I didn't know too. I brought additional revised plans and the letter and all that stuff with me. I didn't know how many copies, if you needed those for tonight's meeting.
We usually just do revisions digital, but you're welcome to pass them out.
Okay.
I'm sure that there are some paper loving folks here.
I
that
can, if
would find
anybody
it.
would like some, let me, I have four.
You're talking about a new version of what this is?
Yes, the revised, the revised plan.
Dropbox today.
Okay,
Yes,
I didn't
that
see
just
that.
came in today. So I threw it in there if we needed it, but
Does anybody need one? Yeah, we'll take one at the end. Short and the other, Shelley?
I didn't see it in the Dropbox.
it was,
It's
I
not.
probably added it just in the afternoons. That's when it came in, I think, this morning.
Could we get a very brief recap of what are the material changes from what we looked at last time versus this new plan?
Yes, so originally. I didn't have the lot, there's a small piece of ground coming from Mrs. Huffnagel that's going to the Williamses. That I hadn't labeled very well before. It looked like it was gonna be its own individual building lot. So that was, put some notes on there, try to clarify that a little bit. Label the line that's gonna be removed between the two properties so that it was pretty clear that it's gonna be merged with the other lot. And it was, originally it was too small to be its own lot anyway.
Yeah,
but it
I remember
clarified
that.
That somewhat. So,
Shelley.
and that was the major thing. Really didn't have any information on the channel through the property. And I conversed with that about that from the prior township manager or town manager, and basically, we didn't see any reason to show it on there as being something special. So we went with the original zoning, the setback property in the back. Basically was the same as the setbacks that we had shown on it before. We added those, addressed engineering comments, which were some of the setback line locations. I hadn't provided floating reports for my survey work. All that stuff was, I had submitted to them. They had some minor note changes and things like that. So nothing, there was really nothing substantive that changed that much other than labeling that lot 3A to clarify that it was for consolidation.
I just want to bring this up because it was in the response letter. I'm sure that you got the utility service letters, but I can't find any copies of them in my email or the file. So if you could please just.
I can,
forward those.
tonight, I'll scan them and
Yes.
send them over to you, because I definitely do have.
I'm sure you've got them,
Yeah.
you know, I just don't have them.
Okay,
So,
for certain. Like I said, those are the bulk changes. Clarifying that lot 3A was a.
And the plan is still to build a home on lot 3A or 3, excuse me, lot 2 and lot 1.
That's correct. Lot 1's gonna be its own lot. They have, because of that existing garage on there, I mean, that has to be removed. I think they had a year, but once their new home is built up there, that basically that building will be raised down there. Their intention was to have that like an in-law living, build a house for their in-law there. But it's a viable building lot, so it can
Okay.
stand on its own.
And the channel that runs through there, that remains, that's not going to be piped in and covered over.
No, and I don't know that legally they could that would be something that would have to get permitted.
Okay. All right. Any questions among the commission?
Yeah, one of the gateway comments is about the stormwater control for the for the hammerhead. What is the plan?
That's basically the next step. That's what I'm working on for our next submittal. I'm basically planning a small rain garden at the upper left side of Stageport, right
Okay.
at the entrance to their property for the actual snow area. That really, it's always gonna be enough room for a minute.
So no inlets at the hammerhead, just
I don't believe there'll be any pipe. I'm gonna try it. There may be a pipe there will be a pipe from the bioretention cell across under the driveway, and there's an existing swale there.
okay. So the rain garden's gonna outlet to the swale, or
It's
where?
an outlet to the swale. It's gonna be a controlled outlet, but we're
Right,
controlled outlet
right.
to the swale.
Okay.
And we're trying to keep it on that upper side so the neighbor's not inundated,
Sure.
because he's right there.
we should qualify this with, it's gonna have to go through town. stormwater
Yeah,
review.
absolutely.
So I
And none of
don't
that-
know if that complies.
I mean, Based on preliminary calculations and stuff, I need
Yeah.
Sure.
like
It-
330 square foot bios retention.
Why I ask, because I don't want you to get too far down the line and then there'd be an issue
Absolutely.
here and you have to come back and.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that stuff is all, it's all pending review and
Right.
approval by Gateway.
So can I just ask, the hammerhead, it says, it doesn't actually.
We, yeah,
Is that being developed to town road standards? Is it?
it's gonna be private, but it has to be reviewed and approved by your engineer to the standards that you require. So it will be,
And the intent is then to pave it.
then is to, yes,
And will the owners therefore maintain it?
they
Right?
will.
Because
It'll be
it's-
their
you're not that-
responsibility to maintain.
Because otherwise it would have to be a
That's correct. And
cul-de-sac.
they're basically, they can't block it for municipal purposes
Right.
or anything at all, but
Okay.
they have to maintain it in a way that's sufficient to touch it.
So I had our town attorney take a look at just the whole issue, which and we had cleared that, as long as it was private, the hammerhead was okay. Dimensions are okay with Public Works. I had them check that out. But there was a slight alteration to the way the note was written that was recommended. Anna can speak to that.
Yeah, RJ, I'll pipe up for a second there. If we are coming through and doing land development shortly hereafter. My suggestion would be that any improvement of this easement area, the location of the hammerhead or its development be handled at that stage as opposed to during the subdivision plan. It just is a little bit more appropriate during that time, at which point you will have a full stormwater review, and that would eliminate some of the concerns that were, I think, reflected in the gateway letter as well as when we reviewed the plan. I would be comfortable with it staying on as drawn, but perhaps with a notation either on the plan or in the approval that the location and construction details of that hammerhead area and any associated easement be subject to approval during the land development phase.
Right. And we also wanted to, there was, I think an alteration to the way that note 10 was written that you were thinking about, right, Anna, where just to make it really clear that at no point is the town responsible.
And I
for the
did,
maintenance.
their last letter dated the 15th, I think, of January. I did change lot 10 and it's on this plan and the one I emailed to you as well.
Yeah,
But basically, don't-
there's just some additional language, which like, I mean, here, I'll just read it.
Sure.
Because right now it says a permanent easement is granted to the town, blah, blah, blah. For access of municipal vehicles is a turnaround for the purpose of snow maintenance for stage court. And then, you know, the heirs, successors, assigns, et cetera, agree to keep the easement unobstructed at all times. What Anna was suggesting that we add is. Do you want
I
to
can
go ahead, Anna?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, so I'll let you, if you want to provide that exact language to the applicant, it might be easier for you being in there in
Yeah.
person. But we felt that the language in note 10 was slightly ambiguous as to the maintenance aspect, just the way that it was worded. So we would request that there be some additional language in that note to make it clear that maintenance of that area would be on the responsibility of the property owners, but that it could be utilized for maintenance of the remainder of the street. We also felt that a short indemnification clause, or not even a full clause, but just brief indemnification language be included there if we are going to have town equipment and town personnel entering that area.
If everyone's fine with that, I can just send you the paragraph. you
Yeah, if you
know?
don't mind, because I'll probably that have the indemnification clause a little bit separate, and I may make that its own little separate note regarding the road.
That would be fantastic. So long as something's included in there, we'd be comfortable.
Yeah, because it's gonna become a little
Mhm.
large. I mean, it's just
It's an unusual situation, calls for unusual language.
welcome to my world.
So we're not dealing with the hammerhead tonight.
Not beyond what's shown.
Other
here,
than, I mean, I would
believe.
request, one of the conditions of that approval be that, you know, the plan be revised to reflect the comments regarding note 10. That we put indemnification clause and additional language in there to clarify the use of that. You technically want the road that removed off of the drawing, like for the subdivision too. I mean, you don't want to see it all, like you don't want to see it all.
If you are already revising the plans, I think it will be more appropriately placed on your land division plans.
Right,
And
okay.
RJ might have an opinion on that as well. But if we are not granting a final approval of the location or the construction of that improvement at this point, but it will be reviewed during land development, that appears to me to be the more appropriate place to include it on the plans. RJ, if you would prefer to have it on both, there's no real reason not to include it here as well, but I would just like a note that indicates that this does not represent an approval of that exact location.
Well, so this might be a dumb question for me, but in this case, because they're only building one home, you know, at this point anyway, on one lot, like there is no reason for them to come back through for a full land development application. This would be caught like at the building permit stage. So if that's satisfactory to you.
If we're not going to come back, if you were doing, you know, a joint, want to go through the full formal approval because you're going to be doing the two separate residences on these lots, then I think that doing it during land development is preferred. If you will not be planning to come back for final land development and handling those two developments separately, then, you know, this plan will not be looked at again by this commission, and then you may want have say on it. Yes.
Yeah, there's nothing that would trigger anything going on here to like have to do a full land development application like what you see with the Ridge, because this is a simple sub with, you know, I mean, I know they're adding one piece from another lot, but really you're creating one lot additional. And in those cases, that's just, you know, whatever, there's no road or infrastructure being dedicated to the town. You know, there is this easement, which is unusual, but yeah, there's no reason to trigger this coming back through the planning commission.
Well, and I'll defer to our legal representative, but from the standpoint of this being a subdivision and that being an easement, I prefer not to see the improvement shown in the easement
Yeah.
and deal with it as a condition of needing to design and whatever after the fact, because this isn't something that's being dedicated. That's
Right.
really part of the subdivision.
It's not.
It's technically just a sketch of it,
Yeah.
really. I mean, it
Yeah.
says they proposed and everything, I mean, but yeah, taking it off's not an issue. I really kind of agree with that, but
Yeah. You're just trying to show what exactly you were trying to do.
Yeah.
And so we've been through a couple iterations, which I think makes sense. Kelly, how do you feel about all of this?
Yeah, I agree. I think we would be fine with it being contingent upon the building permit. As long as it's captured as part of the development, that's fine with
Okay.
the way.
Okay, so, and Anna has drafted up a nice condition for the stormwater management. Should you all be comfortable, you know, with making a recommendation. So. we can- That would probably cover us.
Yeah.
Do you feel that's okay, Anna?
Yeah, that is fine. And if, you know, if the question of the easement needs to be raised later during that building permit phase, it can be dealt with in a separate document and separate agreement. So I think that in many ways, RJ, this is almost how you would prefer from a staff and flow of this approval. You have a variety of options on how to handle it.
Yeah, okay, I think based on what I'm hearing from everyone, it sounds like conditioned to cover both stormwater and the design of the hammerhead itself.
And the
That's-
indemnification language.
Yes, and as well as to add, so two conditions basically being recommended at this point. Did you all choose to move it on? And then we can make sure that Gateway, you know, does a full engineering review of both of those aspects prior to any building permit issuance.
So as a bigger picture question, not specifically related to this. We've got Stage Court, which is a public right of way, and then we'll have the theoretical hammerhead. Which will be private for
Yeah.
whenever that happens. So how exactly does the town deal with these kinds of situations where, granted, Stage Court is very short.
Yep.
But someone's driving down there. and I don't like cul-de-sacs more than anyone else, but there's like no way to turn around very well on the public right of way.
Yes.
How does the town deal with that?
So it's that way now. I've never seen something like this on another plan since I've been here. So,
if someone came through tomorrow for approval, it would have a cul-de-sac on it, or it wouldn't be being built.
yeah,
It wouldn't be accepted. You guys would say, nope, hell no, it's not gonna happen.
this is a really bizarre situation.
And if there was any potential development beyond this, or it was gonna be 3 or 4 lots back there, it would be put in a cul-de-sac. But there's nothing, I mean, there's nowhere for it to go. It's a road to nowhere except their property, and there's only 2 houses basically on that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just
so
unusual.
to your question of how do we deal with it, somebody right now would just have to back out. And that's, you know, I don't know how long this condition has been this way. I just know it's been quite some time.
We have the property owner.
You would know because you're right off of there, right? Yeah.
Maybe a football field. It's
It's
pretty short. There's
Right now,
one
to
house
answer
off
your
the top.
question, if anybody comes in, they can either turn around in our driveway or the driveway across the street.
Yeah.
My lot actually has a little block on it that says that you turn around in my property until Stage Court or Stage Drive gets extended, and that gets extinguished. So
Huh,
part of this question, it's written right on here, I brought it. So part of my question with this whole thing, and that's why I brought it up last time, I don't have any problem with this part like this, and before, you know, when, because we were gonna buy this lot a long time ago, and then we went through all this, came in, met with the person was here before RJ, we were told that we had to put in either a hammerhead or a full cul-de-sac if we subdivided it, or it was on here. You know, if it's private, and the reason that I came in today was that if it was going to be, and it had to be built to township spec. So if what was gonna happen there was gonna be given to the township, our intent is we have a house there now, there's room next to our house, and we intend to build a garage there. So if you put the cul-de-sac where it is now, and it was, or the hammerhead where it is now, we would be in violation of 35-foot building setback from a township road. I don't know how that comes into play if that becomes private and we don't need that anymore.
Okay, I don't wanna start talking too much about like your zoning, right,
No.
but also attached or detached garage.
See that.
Okay, it has to be in the rear yard, so you can't put it there.
And the right of way,
Yeah.
the road's not changing, so 35 feet, still 35 feet.
That's also just not an applicable setback.
That's okay.
So,
Like I
so,
said,
sorry to give you that bad news right now.
Like I said, our deed has the building line on, our 35-foot setback, and it's shown the whole way across the front of our property.
Mhm.
So whether, but like I said, it only comes into play if it's a township road. I don't think it comes into play if it's private.
You mean the
The
garage?
setback.
No, front setbacks are still relevant to property, whether it's a town road or not.
So then if the cul-de-sac, if the hammerhead gets built like it is, it would take away from ever being able to expand on our house.
The property line's not changing.
No, the property line is
Yeah.
the
Setback
changing.
line from the
It's-
road would-
No,
It's a
no,
setback from the
is still
property line.
Yeah, that two separate issues totally, but talk to me about what you want to do with the garage, not at this meeting.
And then the only other question I have, so to answer your question is right now, they turn around in our driveway. If they do that, they would turn around on that.
Mhm.
And the only other issue I have is the stormwater, which I brought up before.
Yeah.
Because that's an over vertical on the road, so everything drains back.
Yeah, to the end of the road now, and we're not our problem, and we're not dealing with the road from where it is now. We're going from there forward, and it's gonna go in opposite direction, and it is very possible, but. Yeah, I mean, that's.
Well, it sounds like we're
because of-
all amenable to
I
a
mean,
condition.
because of him too, we've been trying to. Be as less intrusive on a neighbor as possible, so I mean, we don't wanna. Yeah. From their perspective, they just wanna, they wanna be as less intrusive on him as they can, and everybody get along and have a place to turn around back.
And then, like I said before, I hope they build a house, I just want to make sure that. We don't end up getting a bunch of water.
Yeah, and I mean, assuming that what we've discussed does become a condition of approval. It will have to go through the full stormwater engineering process with Gateway reviewing it, so. I feel pretty good at least that whatever our code requires. Will be fulfilled if this moves forward.
And from the standpoint of further development, the lot 2 is big enough for further development, and that couldn't happen because it wouldn't be an approvable building lot without some sort of road
Yes,
access.
right,
So they'd be back before us.
Yes.
In order to achieve that.
And
Yes.
we didn't even need it, I mean, we didn't put a note or anything because there's no frontage, so it can't be developed any.
Right.
Well, if you built a road, it could.
right, but
Yeah,
I mean, somebody would have to buy all the excess property,
Yeah,
but
right.
point
Yeah,
being, if anything else went in back there. We would
We
end
would
up
get-
having this
Yeah.
conversation, yeah,
Would not be doing it.
yeah, not you. Someone,
So what's the frontage of lot 2? What street does it
Denise.
front on?
it is,
It's a
it is a zoning variance that was
variance,
received.
sorry.
There's no fun on any street.
So there's a variance on the frontage for lot 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we did that like a year ago, I
Yeah.
want to say, it was,
Fine.
this
was
has been a
federal
long
year.
journey.
Somebody else's problem then, so.
Yeah, it was something like 50 or 60 feet and they granted it.
Any other comments? Well, the agenda calls for public discussion. I think we've kind of had that, but are there any other official public comments, either in person here or online?
Let me check online, but I don't think we have anyone other than Anna that's actually. Oh, yeah, I have Zoom controls over here. Yeah, so like,
Station, but he also has been texting me trying to figure out how to talk.
yeah, no, I feel like I can see if somebody's in the waiting room and nobody's in there, so, yeah.
No one? And other comments here in the room? Okay. So I think we're up to a motion. And I'm not quite sure the language of all of the contingencies that we've spoken about,
Yeah.
but I assume that can be formulated.
Yes,
So I think we're up to a motion to approve with the contingencies as we have identified tonight, specifically or generally revolving around note 10 as they were on the plan.
And
Yeah.
stormwater
yeah, so
and the design of the hammerhead.
why don't I just read real quickly the one that Anna has drafted up? So the applicant shall comply with all outstanding comments contained in the January 19th, 2023 review letter. I'll change that to the latest review letter because they're gonna issue another one, but including but not limited to compliance with section 913.08E of the town code of ordinances, which is the stormwater code, through the development of a stormwater management plan in a form acceptable to and approved by the town engineer in accordance with article 913 of the town code of ordinances, stormwater management. Let's theoretically add to that all outstanding comments, including but not limited to, compliance with stormwater, and review of the design of the hammerhead turnaround in a form acceptable to the town engineer. Is Anna, did I do that okay?
That is acceptable, and I would just say in a form subject to any other applicable provisions of the town code.
Okay, we will do that.
That include the indemnification?
No. we got
So
another
that's
one.
condition number 2,
Yeah.
which
Got another one.
Anna, do I have to, I can read this whole thing, should I?
I would just say inclusion of a indemnification clause to the plan or approval, subject to review by the town attorney. Sir, if you want to just provide language to RJ and she can send it over to us, and I'm sure it'll be acceptable if that's suitable for you.
When I write the notes for this meeting, I will watch this video to figure out exactly how I'm wording this.
Well, and also to clarify either note 10 or adding a note that addressing the language of maintenance being the responsibility of the homeowner. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's all.
If we are including the hammerhead on that, if the easement will be included on this plan, which it sounds like it will be, then I still think that revision I provided to comment 10 RJ is
Right.
yes.
Okay, so we're gonna take off the hammerhead, leave the general easement area?
Yeah, general
Okay.
easement.
Okay,
And
all right.
Quite honestly, I can make that easier too and just call it blanket general easement and not have to define it until we get to the developments.
Yeah, we have some time to chew on the exact language of that in between now and town council, but I think for our purposes now, we have the understanding of the conditions that we would like to recommend. Yes?
Yeah, I think so. I hope you do, because you're the one writing.
That's why we record things.
Okay.
But I want to make sure you all know what you're signing on,
Right.
to.
All right, so given all those contingencies, which will be fully explained, do we have a motion to approve the Williams Huffnagel subdivision application as submitted by Melanie Williams? Can I get a motion?
Motion
Al?
approved.
Second, Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you very much. I'll be seeing you again.
Send me those service letters, please. Thank you. All right. So plan.
Uh,
Yes.
We have the minutes of our last meeting, which was January 3rd, 2023. Are there any changes or edits or omissions? Anybody have any comments? No. Hearing none. Then we need a motion to approve the minutes of January 3rd.
So moved.
Shelley moved,
Second.
Al second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention.
I'm abstaining as well.
Oh, so, okay, yeah, you.
Two
two, 'cause you weren't.
abstentions. There were none in opposition, motion passes. general public comment, but I'm not sure what that might be.
Does anyone have anything to say?
Then gee whiz, easy. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes, we are adjourned.
Easy, easy.
All right. Thank you very much, Anna.
Of course. Have a good night, everybody.